Ah, Your Majesty. Tending to your weapon, I see. My apologies for interrupting you.
It's all right. I just finished. Is there something you need, Rodrigue?
Yes, in fact. I received this from Matthias when I was in Gautier territory the other day.
From the Margrave? But this sword is...
He said he'd borrowed it from Lambert years ago, and had long since forgotten about it. What sort of laggard keeps a loan so long he has to return it to the lender's son? 30 years!
That would have been around the time you all attended the Officers' Academy together, correct? Would you mind telling me the story of this sword?
It started when our class was given a mission to eradicate a bandit encampment. Foolish as I was at the time, I dashed in ahead of the others, leaving me and my entire unit stranded behind enemy lines. Apparently, your father and Matthias started arguing about whether or not it was worth coming to save me. Broke out into a full-on fistfight before long.
That's a surprise. I wouldn't have expected that of my father, much less the Margrave.
Well, they were both pretty feisty in their day. Neither of them wanted to back down, I'm sure. On one hand, you had Matthias, insisting they wait for aid from the church. Supplies were running low, so charging in could have gotten everyone killed. On the other, Lambert was so determined to come to our rescue, he'd have gone all by himself if he had to. No idea whose plan won in the end, sadly. All I know is they fought their way through the enemy lines together. And lucky for me, they found us before the bandits did.
So, my father tended to charge in recklessly as well. Or perhaps he was just naive in his youth.
Story goes, Matthias's lance broke while they were fighting their way toward us, so Lambert lent him this sword. As he was giving it to me, he couldn't help but laugh about how it slipped his mind for all these years.
Considering what I know of the Margrave, I have my doubts that he actually forgot it at all.
You're probably right. This is just my opinion, but I don't think he ever really managed to accept Lambert's death until you ascended the throne.
Perhaps. In any case, please tell him I've received it. And thank you for relaying that story to me. It seems even in his youth, my father was willing to do whatever it took to see those close to him safe. Yet here I've gone and started a war, knowing full well it will hurt those I care about most. He'd likely call me a fool if he were here today.
I'm not so sure about that. Yes, he did treasure his friends. But I don't think he would have been too keen on abandoning the church either, considering all they've done to protect the people of Fargus.
Rodrigue, you knew my father well. Could I ask you to do something for me? If I ever attempt anything that would bring shame to his name, please.
Say no more. I'll stop you, even if I have to lay down my life to do it. I already promised him the same thing, actually.
You have my deepest thanks. Do you have a moment, Rodrigue? There's something I'd like to ask you.
Anything for you, Your Majesty. What is it?
I want to hear your side of the story.
Of which story exactly?
How did you feel when you learned of my father's death? I've struggled to ask this before, but I want to know.
So that's what you mean. Honestly, I had a difficult time believing it at first. But as moons passed, I gradually grew to accept the reality of it. And of course, I recalled the promise I'd made him, and vowed to myself that I would carry it out.
I wonder then, had I died alongside my father and Glenn in Duskar, what would you have done? You know, A fleeting thought flashes across my mind every time I see you reflect upon my father. It feels as though you aspired not just to stand beside him in life, but to meet death with him as well.
Don't overthink it, Your Majesty. I'm a pretty stubborn guy, you know. No, I didn't wish for my own death when Lambert passed. But sometimes I think that if I have to die to honor my promise to him, I would be satisfied with that.
I won't allow you to throw your life away, Rodrigue. I'll not have you stolen from me by that promise. Losing you would be almost like losing my father for a second time. If you were to die because of me, it would destroy me.
You may say that, but a subject lives by the example their king sets for them. And I know well enough that you don't value your life either. So if you'd like me to place more importance on my life, I urge you to do the same, Your Majesty.
You're right. I have no excuse.
No, I should apologize. That came out rather more harsh than I intended. You sounded so much like Lambert just now, I simply couldn't hold myself back. In truth, that's something I've wished I could have said to him for a long time now. Yet, you were the one who had to bear the brunt of it. I suppose I can hardly poke fun at Matthias for holding on to that sword all those years, can I?
I sounded like my father?
Indeed you did. Remember the story of the sword? About how I got stuck behind enemy lines like a fool? Well, the first thing Lambert said after he broke through their forces was, "Don't throw your life away like that." Not that it was too convincing coming from a guy covered in cuts and scrapes.
I can't imagine. It sounds as though you two were very close. I envy him for having such strong bonds with his friends.
Don't let my son catch you saying that. Pretty sure he'd take offense. Anyway, that's enough reminiscing for one day. How about you try squeezing some memories out of Matthias next time?
A fine idea. Perhaps I'll invite Sylvain and the others to join in as well.